Welcome to the Glazier Nation podcast, where we uncover the best stories and the best practices of the glass and glazing industry. Whether you're a seasoned vet or just starting out your journey, this show's a great place for entertainment and a deeper understanding of our industry. I'm your host, John Spellman, and I'm truly honored to take you beyond the glass. My guest this week is Alex Buechel. Alex is the creative director for Learnglazing.com. Alex does a much better job of explaining Learnglazing in this podcast than I can, but super brief. Learnglazing is educational content for the glazing industry. We obviously talked about Learnglazing, how it works, who's it for, but Alex has his hands in a lot of other projects ranging from art for Lucasfilms to a professor at a community college. And I did my best to connect the dots between all those creative outlets and his experience in glass fabrication that led him to Learnglazing. Quick side note, please go to www.glazernationpodcast.com to vote for our finalists in the March Madness Glazier Nation event. The winner takes home the TerraTrack glass cart from OmniCubed. Shout out to OmniCubed for sponsoring the event. I had a blast chatting with Alex, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. The Glazier Nation podcast is sponsored by Glazier Nation. You can check out all their offerings at glazernation.com. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast or other marketing opportunities, go to glazernation.com/marketing. And if you have questions for me or you know someone that would make a great guest for the show, you can contact us on any of our social medias at Glazier Nation Podcast. I have a feeling his best injuries are yet to come. He likes to climb trees and he's really not scared of anything.
And one day he just got scared. He used to jump off of couches and jump from one floor to another, and he did a rock climbing wall once, and there was no harness. He couldn't just let go. He had to climb back down, and that spooked him, and he doesn't do anything anymore. It's crazy.
So last time I saw you was at the Glazier Nation Awards ceremony. You had a Learnglazing hockey jersey on.
Yeah, it was a jacket. It was like a varsity jacket. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I think that's a cool manufacturers or even Glazier Nation, that's a cool giveaway, a jersey or something unique, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know how many people would
had
wear.
One a few years ago. It was an orange, really bright orange field, moisture wicking shirt, and I got my hands on one of those. I love that shirt. It's awesome. It's a great summer work outside kind of shirt. So
yeah. Any of the high vis orange yellow stuff, those are gold for giveaways. Any manufacturers listening, I think I can speak for all the Glazers and all the field workers. Those are highly desirable items.
Well, absolutely. And they're allowed in all the shops, right? Because of that high vis. So it just works.
Alex, I know the basics of Learnglazing, but expand that for me. What's Learnglazing?
So Learnglazing is it's a company that was started by two individuals. Marcus being from the MP drafting, the drafting side of the world in terms of glazing. He does shop drawings, owns a separate company. And then we had Chris, who is really big in marketing and understanding needs for just general, just for people. So what he did is they connected in some sort of marketing to propel MP drafting. And at the time, they were both working on developing an educational resource for the drafting side, so that anytime he hired a new guy, they could have a system that they would all follow. That way you have a systematic and clear path on how to learn everything you're going to learn to become effective in that drafting world. So they could hire somebody out of college, or they could hire an experienced person and put them through the same training. And then they have control over the knowledge. You have the basis, you understand their minimal base of knowledge, so they're going to be able to have that foundation to build off of. And at that point, they just realized that the glass and glazing world pretty much needed the same thing, just in general. So they looked into resources and who has training and who doesn't, and they found out a lot of the manufacturers and a lot of the different companies out there have their own personal training, but it's all kind of individually focused, and it's all kind of just on their own products. So they thought it would be a really great idea as a passion project mostly. Marcus created Learnglazing because he's been a part of the glazing industry for 20-something years. His parents own glass shops and so on. He wanted to bring that element of let's help back to the community, right? This world has given him everything that he's got. This industry has, allowed him to live the life he's wanted to live, and his family before that, his parents and so on. So it was kind of like, you know what, the world needs it. We have the ability to do it. Why not do it? So they both decided to start Learnglazing to start creating educational resources to snag all of that information that's about to walk away from our industry. It's an excuse me,
Yeah.
it's an old industry, so it's about to walk away. So they wanted to make sure that they left something behind. And what started off as a small idea with a couple of courses has propelled into a full-blown company that has, many courses and articles and a following at this point and videos. Um, so it's grown by demand. So we're lucky to be here only because there are so many people asking us for more that we can continue making it.
Yeah, let me unpack that a little. So I'm looking at Learn Glazing on YouTube.
Sure.
You've got 53 videos, almost 2,000 subscribers. This is not the main course though, right? There's other
No, it's
courses
not. So
elsewhere.
learn glazing is so YouTube is actually a very small element of our training. It's where some of our training will actually be shown.
Yeah,
Let's call it the easy, like just throw out there kind of social content to grab some attention. So the bulk of our information is inside slideshow style trainings. There are 40 courses that you go into with individual topics, and these little
okay,
videos that you're seeing are just little interest videos on those topics to kind of
got it.
tell you that we're going to dive into that subject really heavily. So some of these courses have 20, 30 slides, some of them have more, some of them have less, but we're actually we're writing these and putting them out there for people to take, and then these little videos are just support per se, and the
Yeah.
videos that
So
you're
yeah,
seeing are only some of the videos. We do
yep.
have
I'm
a lot
I'm
of internal videos that are not out there, that are within the training only.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through and it looks like most of these videos are between 1 and 4 minutes. So I'm assuming they have links. They take you to learnglazing.com.
Yeah, they do. So at the bottom of each one, there's a description that tells you that if you want to learn more about the glass industry and learn more about our training, that you can follow the links to our actual website. As you know, subscribership is free. It's free to sign up. It's free to take them. You take it at your own pace. You take whatever courses you want. The only thing that we get is we get more users, and that just helps our numbers in terms of like getting, sponsors and also getting interest in continuing to do this. So.
Okay. So is that the I'm fully on board with, we want to do this. We want to leave information. We want to leave a legacy. We want to help the industry. But there's got to be some. We all have to eat, and I'm assuming that's through sponsors. So there's no
Yes.
paywall.
No, so there's no paywall at all. We have a few times considered maybe creating something that could help us fund internally, but at this point, you got two owners that are funding this out of pocket, including myself, and whatever everything is in there. So we do have a few sponsors that have like jumped on board that help us. And what we do is we create neutral content. But we do also kind of like help the sponsors by throwing their name out there a little bit, a little bit of product placement. I'll use TubeLight as an example. They're one of our largest sponsors. So when I'm teaching about anything in one of those courses, be it curtain wall or storefront or whatever it may be, the examples shown on screen are of their systems, right? So we are
Yeah.
teaching general concepts, but we want to make sure that we are also supporting our sponsors by showing the advantages of working with some of them as well.
Sure. No, and I would think our industry tends to be pretty slow moving and slow adapting, but the video style instructions, right? Like if I have to do something around the house that I've never done before, I typically go to YouTube, and I think that's pretty common, right? So like
Agreed.
someone that owns a glass shop that knows how to do that stuff, that has the time to teach people how to do it, that's awesome. But if they either don't know how to do it, or if they don't have the time, being able to have a video resource is huge. And then the manufacturer, having that, being part of that, possibly having that on their website. Hey, here's our system. By the way, by Learn Glazing, here's some videos for that system.
Right.
Seems very no brainer to me.
Yeah, and it's worked out really well for us because one of the things that we get is we're a third party, we with no invested interest in any of these manufacturers or fabricators or so on. So we're essentially a neutral voice that's just teaching concepts and teaching systems, and trying to help the glaziers who want to move into the office, or people who are just joining the office for the first time and onboarding into the industry in general. We're trying to create a path to becoming a project manager or becoming part of the staff within any one of these systems, right? Or these companies, sorry. So we have we'll call it a third party voice. So we're not showing any favoritism, we're not doing anything like that. So when manufacturers come to us, they come to us because they believe in the message that we're leaving. They believe in education, they believe in helping the industry, they believe in allowing us to continue to provide it for free. And then, all we're doing is doing some kind of shout outs like, hey, these guys are part of the reason you can get this for free. So it's really, in my opinion, really great. Obviously, we do need or would like more of that
Sure.
support, because then we could expand our ability to generate content faster, more in depth, maybe hire more experts on any subjects that we might not have super cleaned up or know very well. Up the level of our content and videos. That's what we look for.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, Glazer Nation is pretty similar in terms of the content creation stuff. It's like if a sponsor gets on board, can we do something else? Can we do a photo shoot? Can we do the award ceremony? Can we do these different things that have a cost associated with them? But one thing you said in there, and I think I knew this, but the content is not for the glazers to learn to be a glazer. The content is more for a project manager, estimator, project coordinator type thing.
Yeah, so that's how it started. Learnglazing started completely focused on project management. When I joined Learnglazing, it was still focused on project management. With the growth of the company, and the variety of courses that have come out of our joint efforts here, ever since I've come on board, and then also the demand, we have slowly progressed to other areas. So now we have companies that use us for engineering. We have companies that use us for architecture. Like we have architectural companies, engineering companies that use us. We're starting to become a solid foundation for anybody that's involved in glass and glazing at all. So while we're not teaching glazers to do anything in the field, it's not a direction that we're not wanting to go into. It's just not one that we're there yet. But we have started doing some more installation friendly stuff. It's still mostly focused on office personnel, but moving forward, I mean, we definitely want to be very well rounded and become the ultimate resource, right? And I mean, free education for anyone and everyone. Yeah.
Was this your first gig recording yourself?
It was. So I had to, when I first started talking to Marcus, I was working at a glass fabricator. It was right in the middle of COVID, and I was hoping for a change. Um, so when I talked to him about it, he said, "Listen, I got this opportunity over here." He knew that I was creative. He knew that I was, you know, um, willing to do a lot of things, and I could bring some knowledge to the table, and I could definitely help the company out. But we didn't know exactly where. So what he didn't want to do, or actually what they didn't want to do, both owners, neither one of them wanted to be the person on camera. So they
Right.
called me and they said, "Hey, are you willing to be the guy on camera and teach these concepts?" And I had zero editing experience, zero camera experience. And what I did is, for about a month before we kind of like really decided if it was going to be a good fit, I tried to make a video. I had a friend of mine help me like just run through Premiere and try and get some basics on it. And we recorded and made one of the videos to show that. So it was basically, teaching self-taught and with a friend kind of helping me as well to
Yeah.
just do this. So it is, yeah, it's the first time, and it was because of the job that I had to be comfortable doing this. So
Yeah, I can relate. I've been in the glass industry on and off my entire life, and when I started making glass industry content, it was awkward. And to be honest,
yeah.
sometimes it still is. So, like after this call, I will do the intro. I'll record an intro, and I'll explain who you are, right? And that's the part where I'm just talking into the camera. Um, and yeah, it's still awkward. I mean, I think I've been doing it like 2 years now, and I see you've got 53 something videos on YouTube plus
So there's
all
over
your
120 or 140 videos that we have total. So
yeah
I've done it a few times, but I'll be honest with you, I've discovered that my best way is to write a script, kind of learn it, and then just wing it. Because
yeah
if I'm talking to you about something I know, I don't have to worry about remembering lines. It just works better for me.
oh yeah remembering lines. It not only is it difficult, but it comes off as unauthentic and
Yeah.
forced.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean, I try and be conversational in our videos. I try and be high energy. I try and be um, I'm trying to tell people that I know something, and I'm trying to show them what it is that I know, right? So you have to know that was, as a teacher. that I've done my whole life, I've always only taken on classes of things that I know. I don't like teaching anything that I partially know, things that I don't know. I need to understand the concept, because the better I understand it, the better I can teach it, right? So that's the goal of these videos, is for us to teach everything we can, little bits at a time. We have some in-depth videos in the courses as well, but it has to be authentic. It has to be real knowledge. So that's
How
a goal.
about some of these? I know you're recording like in front of buildings, right?
Some of them, yeah.
And let me ask you, because I've done a couple different types of content. I did some content where buildings that I worked on, I would just go kind of make like a little highlight reel. I did some content for Glazier Nation where I was doing like news article type stuff, like highlights in the industry. But anytime that I was like physically somewhere, everybody, well, not everybody, but always at least one person asked me like what I was doing, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, so it's tricky. So when I find locations, I try and go on like a weekend when I know the location is closed.
Sure.
So I would these buildings that you're seeing me in front of are like a Sunday morning at 7 a.m., right?
Right.
When there's definitely nobody anywhere near me. I also go on public spaces only, so I stay on sidewalks. I stay on public access areas where I know that I'm not interfering anything. I'm not violating anything. I'm not trespassing in any way, right? I'm always
Sure.
on some sort of public access, be it a sidewalk or something like that. And I do often ask inside the building, like, hey, do you guys mind if I stand in front of this thing? I've never had anybody say no. For the most part, like, people are just more curious. But once I tell them what I'm doing, I show them a little bit of the channel. They don't seem to care. So I haven't had many people interrupt me, but I think it's more of the timing thing. And that's a little bit probably of my own personal shyness. I'm good with the camera one on one, but if there's three or four people standing around, then yeah, it's a completely different
Yeah.
animal.
It is a super awkward thing, but like it's more and more common as more and more people are either content creators or just sharing their experiences online, and like it's only going to become worse as we get glasses and goggles and things that are just recording us all the time. Has anyone ever asked you if you're with the news?
I have not had anybody ask me that. No.
I've had
No,
that
but I feel
multiple
like the
times.
most awkward thing where I get some of the stares are like whenever I am doing a video alone and I don't have anybody to help me, be it my kid or a friend to go and stand behind the camera and hit the button for me. It's me hitting the button, running around, standing in front of it, talking, running back around, hitting the button again, coming back, like
Yeah.
doing that little back and forth. I've had some people occasionally kind of like stop and stare and just kind of shake their heads, wondering what's going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've never actually been approached.
Yeah, I've had multiple times people ask me if I'm with the news, and I just always thought that was interesting. I mean, they're people are free to ask whatever. But I will say, like, before I made any piece of content ever, I didn't realize how awkward and difficult it is, and maybe difficult's not the right word, but time consuming. And you mentioned Premiere,
Yeah,
learning how to do edits, learning how to do, looking at your YouTube. Do you do all these thumbnails?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so I
yeah.
have a design background with Photoshop, Illustrator, stuff like that too. So I would say that's actually the easier part of it for me, but that's
Okay.
just because I had the experience in that. So
Yeah, so let's tie that all together there, because you've worked with Lucasfilms, you've worked as
yeah,
a
so
glass
I can give you like
fabricator.
I guess a quick rundown.
Yeah,
So
how do
I
we how do
started
we
in this
tie
business.
all that design stuff to the glass industry? Like where was the crossover?
Yeah, so exactly. So what happened with me is I actually originally went to school for architecture. I was interested in architecture. I wanted to do that. And that's mostly because I used to just be that kid that would doodle in class all the time. And I was always drawing. And I was always afraid that drawing would not be a good path to a livelihood, like make money. I was worried that it was not going to be. So I tried to find something that would use my hobby in a more productive way that would still allow me to draw, but kind of keep that separate to a degree. I like to draw people, so maybe if I'm drawing buildings, I don't feel like I'm losing my hobby. I went to school for architecture, and after a few years of being in the program and practically completing it, I decided I didn't like it because when I first started, it was all hand drawing and drafting, and I really did enjoy that. Once they put me in front of AutoCAD and I had to spend hours and hours and hours looking at a black screen, and then I got my first job doing that for a few years, just staring at a black screen. I didn't enjoy that very much. So, in an effort to try and just find something else to do, I stumbled across at college a media and communication arts program, which was design and web and photography and hand drawing as a profession. And it was just a lot of fun. So I decided to go that route. So I graduated with a degree in illustration, which was like my primary focus, was just to draw whatever I wanted. And this was like, we're talking like movie posters, characters, album covers, that kind of old school 80s, 90s drawings that people used to generate. I was interested in that. And then I backed that up with a graphic design degree. So essentially I completed three of them. So I have an architectural drafting one, I have an illustration one, and I have a graphic design one. And all of this I was doing while I was going to school in the afternoons and still having a job that was creating sunrooms, like those metal and glass additions on the back of houses. So that was like essentially my first real job. And, the crossover for them was really convenient because they're like, hey, we need to create a new flyer. Hey, Alex is learning about that. Let's just make him do it. So I was convenient to them in the sense that I was still doing the drafting, doing the plans, and all this submittals and so on for like the
Yeah.
townships nationwide. Plus, I could also bring some of the artistic thing, and it just kind of never fell off. Every job I've had since has been because of both. I went over to a fabricator, and they hired me because they needed a creative guy to take over their design stuff and also manage their decorative glass division and worry about all
Yeah.
of that stuff. So it's always been kind of having those two just took me to every job I've had.
So when was the Lucasfilm stuff?
So the Lucasfilm thing. So while I was going to school for illustration, I got a job with Topps Trading Cards, where they would
Okay.
do illustrations on the cards. And my first licensed property that I worked on was Star Wars, which is obviously owned by Lucasfilm, now Disney. So I became a Star Wars artist, fairly early in my career, and I just kind of hung on to that. And I've done quite a few projects with them, a lot of trading cards. But I also got to do some like fine art prints not long ago for three, of their major shows. So it's on. So technically a licensed Star Wars artist, which is kind of cool too, because it's just something nerdy that we like to claim
Yeah.
and enjoy. But
Now, do you still do that?
I can, yeah. So I do, and I can. I haven't
Yeah.
drawn in a little while. Just life's been busy. But the way that it typically works there, for the most part, is that you can find a licensing company that wants something and try to ask you for stuff. You can work for companies that own licenses that work on that stuff as well. Marvel and DC and all these guys are making the comics. You could be an artist for them. Um,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's a lot of freelance business. And in mine, I can still work on the trading cards. I haven't accepted an invitation in a while, but the big projects that I've worked on right now are mostly some of those where you're competing against other artists. You generate something and you're trying to get in, and then you get selected as part of the process, right? So, and then it becomes a licensed piece. And I could always go talk to some of the license companies and say, hey, I would like to do a piece. It's gotten so competitive to the point where you're basically creating finished artwork and then it's almost trying to sell it after the fact. So there's a high risk, high reward situation, but you could do 5, 10 pieces on your own time and never get anything out of them. Or you could do one that just does really well. And if they like you, they will continue to ask you for more. And there's a weird balance in that world.
So I'm looking at some pieces. It looks like you did these. I've got a rainbow colored Chewy here.
Yeah.
I've got 2017 Star Wars Rebels,
And then a
and
2016 one or 19 one as well. No,
yeah,
16.
and
Yeah.
I'll put these up on the video if anyone's on the audio only. But are these hand? I'm going to sound stupid here. I don't know anything about art. Are these hand drawn or are these drawn with a
Yeah, I am.
computer?
I am a traditional artist. So the first one that I did was an acrylic painting. The next two are watercolors. So the Chewy is watercolor, and the Rebels that is in the shape of a ghost that's kind of symmetrical. That one is also a watercolor painting.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I did for like their special events, the Star Wars celebrations.
So all right. So modern day artist, hand drawn artist. Where does he fit in with artificial intelligence? And I'm sure you've played with these things. Mid
Yeah, I mean,
Journey.
artificial intelligence is really scary because it can generate things that in terms of finished quality I can't match. But I think that one of the things that any sort of digital art doesn't have that I will forever have is that I can hold my original. Right, I can look at it. I'm breathing it. I'm smelling it. I'm touching it. It's got my personal hand touch on it. Um, I don't have an undo button. I can't just regenerate. I can't just erase a layer. I can't just change my mind. Once I put a color down, that color is down. So I feel that the challenge that I have is in the limitation of undoing mistakes. So it's very risky to be a traditional artist nowadays, because especially with watercolor, it's transparent. I can't just cover it and try again. So I think there's just I don't know. There's a trueness that I love to traditional artwork that AI can do some stuff that I definitely can't. And I mean, there's just digital artists that can do stuff that I can't. But
Yeah.
I love that. I love the ability to say, hey, this is it, and I can have the
Have you
original piece and hang it.
have you messed around with Midjourney and Dolly and these text
I
to
played
art?
around a little bit with them. I guess I have not properly learned to use them. They're not
Sure.
my forte. I definitely it's a learned art too, right? Because there's nothing wrong with those tools, and they're amazing if you learn how to use them. Developing the right prompts to get the results you want and all that stuff is impressive. There are people out there that will actually sell you. You can go on Etsy and they'll sell you their prompt list just so you can generate something similar to what they already have. So it's a whole business in itself, and it's an art form. People have invested a lot of time into properly learning to use those. I've tried a little bit here and there. I have not gotten any of the results that I want. I don't pay for Midjourney, so I've tried some of the free ones out there, and the results
Yeah.
were okay. I've used them every now and then for just some general content or background information or stuff that I need. But for the most part, I'm still either on a board by hand, or I mean, for my videos, whenever you watch any of these videos and you see any of these little graphics and stuff popping up, that's all made in Illustrator and then animated in After Effects and then exported over to Premiere. It's still all done, I guess the old school way, we'll call it.
Have you had any type of conversation with whether it's Lucasfilms or whomever that would have bought your hand drawn art? Like, has there ever been a conversation since the AI art generators have become more mainstream, more accessible, better? Like, is there any? They're obviously aware of those programs. Do they
Yeah, they
seek
are, and
do they
it's a
seek
little bit
hand
different.
drawn stuff?
It's a little bit different to be in the world that, like, once you become a licensed artist with them, any piece that you produce that is licensed, they allow to print. They have their little snail on the bottom, their tag. It's a limited run or something that gets mass produced or whatever. Lucasfilm is one of those companies that has rights to first refusal on any original art. So if I create an original painting and I want to sell it, I have to submit it and formally give it to them as a first option for them to buy. They don't have to accept it, and there's a time frame. I can't remember the time frame right now in which they're allowed to change their mind. And then after that, I'm allowed to sell it to the general public or a collector or whoever it may be. If at any point I decide to change the price, I have to then resubmit it to them. So when it comes to original art, yes. Digital content, I don't know that it falls under the same rules, because I don't create any sort of like digital paintings or anything like that. I'm not super
Well,
clear on that,
what
but I can't
what
imagine that they can control that, because what are you going to own? A Photoshop file? I guess that's weird.
Well, Alex, I think what I'm curious about is like the people that are making the buying decision to buy your art. Are they valuing it? Is there like a modern day value to hand drawn art because it's not artificially created?
I think so. I mean, at least the customers I've had purchase some of my stuff are buying it because it is a traditional painting, right? Because a lot of my artwork is available in print form, and they could spend $10 and have a copy of it, but they're choosing to spend significantly more to have the original, and that's I think that there are a lot of people that still like to, again, like me, still like to hold it and say this is a one of. It's not something
Yeah.
that I can make 300 more of.
Have you ever looked at anything blockchain related with your art?
Blotch painted.
Blockchain, like the oh, I'm spacing on what they're called now. The digital images that are connected to the blockchain. The
NFTs.
yes, NFTs. Thank you.
Yeah, no. So in order to do NFTs, I mean, I could submit some of my artwork as NFTs. The reality is that I don't own my own artwork. I'll start by saying that. So anything that I produce that is licensed is not mine anymore. Part of the contracts, as soon as it becomes a licensed piece, is that I don't own the image. I own the original art piece, like the board with the drawing on it, and then I can hang on to that or sell it. But any sort of rights to that image in general are no longer mine. So I cannot produce T-shirts, I cannot produce mugs, I cannot do anything with any of that stuff.
Right, but you
Those
could
are
you could
entities that are
create
owned by Lucasfilm. It's their
right, but
characters, it's their copyright.
you could create your own artwork that was not based off of any IP. You could create your own artwork
I
and
could.
NFT it.
Absolutely.
Have you ever looked at
Correct.
that?
Yeah, and I've not done that.
Okay.
So I believe that in order to have anything NFT, you have to pay for it in some sort of digital coin just to get it uploaded and then try and sell
Yeah.
it, right? So I'm not, yeah. So I have not done that.
I think that's called minting. This is not the podcast to tune into for NFT news and information, obviously,
No.
as I'm stumbling through even the name of the product. But I do own one. It's a man. I bought it like 3 years ago. I couldn't even tell you what the name of it is. I have it on an external wallet. It's probably worth nothing at this point, but
So I'll be honest with you. I have gotten notifications through my email based on I have one of those old school DeviantArt accounts, um, and I had some of my artwork on there. I haven't been on there in a long time, but most of my artwork is on there. I would say, I guess, but I would get notifications every now and then that the website found that somebody had taken my image and was selling it as an NFT, and then I could dispute, this issue. And I was just like, I don't even know how to go down that road. And again, I don't own the entities anyway, so what am I going to fight for, right? It's like somebody took
some of
something that you
them
don't own away from you. Like, well, yeah,
some of them are worth millions of dollars.
yeah. I mean, I wish, right?
Yeah, that could be you, man. I'm pulling up the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I knew was one that is ridiculously expensive. This is not normal, I don't think. Oh, I'd have to convert this to ETH, which is we got to move off of this topic. This is not what people came to the Glazier Nation podcast for. So let's hop back to glass because we kind of briefly stumbled over it. You are from the glass industry.
I am. I've been in the glass industry since roughly 2001. I got my job at one of those addition and closure systems, glass and metal ones with the foam roofs. There's a bunch of different companies out there that make them. I don't want to name any companies because that's free advertising. But I worked at one of those. I was a drafter in one of those for a long time. And when I left there, I left that company to work almost in the exact same thing. The engineer that used to be at that company left and started his own company. And rather than just doing the drawings for one manufacturer, we actually absorbed most of the manufacturers in the nation, and we were doing like 12 different systems around the whole U.S. That I was doing the blueprints and city submittals, talking to everybody at the cities themselves. I had to talk to the engineers and the officers and anybody that would go through the process of the submitting process. It's been a while, so I can't remember exactly all of it, but I was doing everything from like the layout of the systems to how to get the glass, where to order the glass, and all that stuff, the foundations and the calculations, wind and uplift, and all this other stuff. And from there, once I decided to make a change, I ended up working at a glass fabricator here in Michigan. So I went over there in early 2014. Um, I was hired as a designer for the company, a graphic designer, to help them create more decorative glass products. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people that doesn't know how to keep my hands to myself. So whenever I would be around the shop, I would sometimes just throw on some gloves and help the guys out. And they decided to put me through a full tour. And the tour was that I would spend a week at every single station in the entire fabricating facility. So I spent a week at cutting, and then I would spend a week at flat polish, and I would spend a week at tempering, and every single one on the offload, one on the onload. And as I was doing this tour of duty, I typically refer to, because it was supposed to be a new training thing that I'm the only person that ever went through it. I got to A, connect with all the employees, and B, I learned a lot more about the processes than most of the employees within the company had. So it established me really quickly as a middle person between office and shop, which in our industry, as you know, tends to have a big divide. So I knew what these guys could do, and I could communicate to these guys. And because I actually, spent the time out there wearing some boots and hauling some glass, I had earned the respect of the guys in the shop as well. So I became a little bit of a bridge. And in that bridge, within my first year of being with the company, I was given the responsibility of overseeing the lamination department, as well as all of decorative glass, we'll call it, or specialty glass. So anything with coatings, sprays, color, inner layers, all of that stuff was under my realm. I had to order all the inventory, keep schedules, oversee the department, all that stuff. So I got some firsthand experience in the shop for quite a few years.
Yeah, I feel like this podcast is going to come off as me being very confused and all over the place, but I'm trying to piece together. It's like you have a very modern day employment strategy, I'll call it, is you kind of have your hands in a bunch of different things, it feels like, and you've kind of been everything is tied together. Like if I had like a diagram, like everything touches, right, at some
Yeah.
point, but there's such a broad range of things you're doing. And I've got one more here. What Adroit Creative?
Okay, so the Adroit Creative is a graphic design and packaging design company that my best friend and I kind of work at. This is
Okay.
her sole company for the most part, like where she does all the design and work on it. And she brought me on board to kind of help and assist and help grow it. And I do some of the design work stuff too. It's yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place. So the thing is that the other jobs that you're talking about, like this Macomb Community College job, is it's not something that's consistent. Some semesters I'm invited to teach, and other semesters I'm not, and I won't get into the nuances of why that works out the way it is. It's frustrating, but I won't say much. The other thing is the freelance artist stuff. It's not super consistent either, right? I mean, obviously, if I would take the time to grind more, it would make it more consistent. But I don't know how to not keep busy. So it's just,
Yeah.
when one job kind of stops, and let's say that 5 o'clock hits, which is not how I see
Yeah.
things, but once that 5 o'clock hits, I'm bored for the next 5 hours. Let's do something else. And that's where, just I like to see, it's almost like I need that reward of being able to see something finished. When I was in the glass fabricator, one of my favorite things to do was to go out to projects that were completed that I was a part of. I loved seeing that there was a reward in having become a part of something that was completed and finished. In Learnglazing, I get to see these courses. I get to see how many people viewed the videos. I get to see all that stuff. But it's still nice enough, like with Adroit Creative, my friend Melissa and the co-owner of the company, she she generates a lot of like packaging design, and I help out, have my ideas. I help with some of the social media content. But it's really nice to go to a store and see something that you were a part of, like hanging there on the shelf, which is really cool. So that packaging design thing, which was something neither one of us had any experience in, that this company
Yeah.
has headed in that direction, is pretty cool.
No, I think that's awesome, and I think something interesting there is like, I mean, if I want to try and relate it to myself, like I didn't want to, when my W-2 job is over, and whether it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever time is irrelevant, but when you've kind of moved off of that, what can we do, right? Like, should we sit and watch TV? And that really wasn't my jam. So I was trying to find something else to do, and it eventually led back to the glass industry. Content is one thing. I've got my hand in a couple other things as well that we'll see if they have any legs. But like the two things I'm taking from you is like, when you start something, it it may not evolve the way you planned, but if you keep working at it, if you keep putting into it, it's going to evolve into something, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, I have a hard time with just that wasted time. Like, Friday night you want to watch a movie, sure, but do we need to watch 18, 20 hours of TV a week? I think that's a lot of wasted time, and I think people could do better for themselves, not only financially but also like mental health wise, if you want. Like I find a lot of, if I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but like when I'm making a video or when I'm making something creative, there's an outlet, and I'm sure as an artist you can relate to that, right? You're drawing something, there's a creative outlet that just makes you feel good, and I think
Yeah, for me, there's a big reward in seeing something complete, right? Like there's a project, there was an idea. Once
yeah,
it's completed, I enjoy that very much. So, when I start the process on any of these videos, to be on a similar note with you, it starts off with an idea and a script, and I do as much research as I can to make sure that I'm not going to get fact checked by somebody later, which is probably the worst thing, right? But it you generate something, and you just hope it's going to be good, and you're kind of taking a risk on every single one of these things that you're creating. And
yeah,
there's a moment at the end when you hit play for the first time once it's uploaded somewhere, and you kind of sit back and watch it, and you're no longer scrutinizing it, you're no longer looking for little edits, you're no longer trying to cut little things out, because obviously you watch things 1,000 times, but
yeah,
once you kind of get to just sit back and say, this is it, it's finished, let's watch it. And there's definitely it's a rewarding feeling. And then with every other person that jumps on board or mentions it, it's really great. So for me, the videos with Learnglazing, just to kind of touch a little bit further on the reward part of it, one of my favorite things is I get to go to shows, right? I get to go to these conventions, and when I
Yeah.
get to go to a convention, I'm not in any way, shape, or form some celebrity or anything like that, and I would never claim to be, and I don't know that I would ever want to be. But
Right.
occasionally, somebody will come up to you and they'll recognize you, right? Um, I was in New York 2 years ago, and yeah, I was just diving into this. I was pretty new. I was just making these videos. I still didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous about the whole situation. And there was a young guy that came up to me. He had his girlfriend with him. Um, Girlfriend looked completely bored. Didn't want anything to do with the show. She was just coming along with the boyfriend who wanted to be at the show. He
Yeah.
was incredibly excited, and he had watched a few of the videos that I had made. And the story that he told is that those videos made everything seem so simple and accessible to him that he actually decided to start his own small company. And he was there. He had driven to New York a couple hours just to show me a photo of his very own first storefront with a door and a side light that he took on as a personal project and decided, I'm going to go for it. And that was really
Yeah.
cool. There's big reward in that too. So
That's awesome. No, I get, same thing. Like, I've only been doing this for 2 years, 18 months, however long I've been doing it. I still think a lot of my content is subpar and I'm not happy with it. But like
right there.
once in a while, someone will send you a message or say something to you in person of like, oh, I saw that video and that was really cool. And that does go a long way, and it makes you
It
want to
does. It
continue
goes very
doing
far.
it,
Yeah.
especially when you're helping someone. Like I think Learnglazing, Glazier Nation, I think have a common goal of helping the glazing industry. And when that resonates with someone, it means a lot.
It does. It actually changed everything. I mean, people say that any review is a good review. Our reviews on social media and even just on Google are fantastic because every single one of them is another little push forward to continue do what you're doing, right? I mean, anybody that has something where it's critical and they're saying, "Hey, I didn't like this, and you could do better at this," obviously that helps. Anybody that says, "Man, I really love this," like that feels great too. So it's just um, the feedback is really what kind of continues to give that forward
So
momentum to say we're doing the right thing.
I'm gonna pivot a little with you, but I'm gonna stay on creating content here and some
Okay.
content we've been running for Glazier Nation this month, the Glazier Nation March Madness tournament. So I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen this.
I've seen some of
We
it. I don't follow March Madness, so I don't really understand it, to be honest.
Okay, so March Madness is a basketball tournament, right? I'm not gonna dive into this, but
College,
like
yeah.
it's elimination, right? And it goes to the Sweet 16, it goes to the Elite Eight, it goes to the Final Four, and we've just made a tournament for fun. And there is a cool reward here. There's a TerraTrack glass cart by OmniCubed, which
Okay.
I think is gonna carry some value for whoever wins this. But I want to run through some names here, and the concept was best name. I don't think we can avoid the concept of a popularity contest here when you're voting, but the concept was best glass shop name. So this round may already be determined by the time I put this podcast out, but we're going to run through what we had for our Elite Eight, and you're just going to tell me what you think of these names and who you'd vote for here. So, Dead
Sure.
on Glass versus Custom Glass.
Custom glass just sounds like a process, so I like Dead on Glass. It feels a little more trendy and current.
Yeah, both friends of the podcast, Johanna and um, Carla Garrett. I'm spacing today, dude. This is like the ninth word I've not been able to say on one podcast. But yeah, I'll go Dead on Glass too. And Joe's logo is like a skull, so it's kind of like he's got the whole thing there. We've got
Yeah, that's one of the cool
next
things
round.
about this new age right now. So it's people are just being slightly more aggressive and honest with their personal brands, and it translates to the companies, and I appreciate that.
I think that's a great answer and a great way to look at it. And we've got another one on here that'll get that, I think, too. But these two, above all storefronts versus American glass and glazing.
Ooh, I have to. I guess I can't be unbiased on that one because I have some connections at above all storefronts, so I'm going to have to just choose them.
Yeah. Again, I think we've got some friends of the podcast in here. I mean, that's that's who's kind of participating in our social media stuff, right? So,
Yeah, and mine too. So
yeah, I'll go above all as well. Bob Lentz was our Glazer of the
yeah,
year last
Yeah,
here.
Bob is a phenomenal guy. I would back that guy up on anything. So that's
Yeah,
you made
and
that easy.
he was at the award ceremony with us.
Yeah, he sat right next to me.
There we go. So we're taking above all storefronts. We'll say it's on their name, but obviously we're playing into the popularity contest a little here.
Unfortunately,
It's
well,
impossible
it's all
not
about
to.
connections. Our industry is about connections, right?
It
And
is. It
Bob is an
is.
amazing guy at making the right connections and talking to people, and he makes you feel heard. He makes you feel included. He makes you feel known. Like he's an awesome guy.
All right, we got Champagne Glass versus Advanced Glass Industries.
Mm, that's weird. I don't know. Champagne glass sounds a little strange to me because it's like booze glass, which I would not hate. Um, but advanced glass, you say industries?
Yes.
I'll take champagne. It's strangely unique.
Yeah. Again, we've got more friends of the podcast here. We've got Ryan Shoemaker. We've got Sean Farrow.
Yeah.
Both active on the social medias. Man, I kind of want to vote for
And I have the
Sean.
same people. I honestly, I have the same people too. But I went for uniqueness.
Yeah.
I tried going with the name on that one.
Sean, being a resident Floridian, has a lot, but I do like the name of Champagne Glass. It kind of just rolls off the tongue. I'll go with Champagne here. Last but not least, we got Grandview Glass versus Feeling Cocky.
Okay. Well, so obviously the second one is a sealant company, or at least I would assume so.
I think I think it's a glass shop. I mean, we got to caulk the windows. We got to caulk the storefront.
Yeah.
It's a
If it was a sealant
female-owned
company,
glass
I would
shop,
have
as
loved
I
it.
understand it.
If this was like a Dow style company, that I think that would have been awesome. I'll take the other one this time because I don't feel like that. I do still believe that the name should give you some indication of what you do. And if
Okay.
it's a
All
glass
right.
shop, it should have the word glass in it.
Yeah. I don't disagree, but I think there's enough caulking in our industry, in storefronts, in curtain walls, in windows. And it's also like a pretty big, I would say it's like the number one joke on the Glazer Nation Facebook page is when they take a picture of like a 4-inch caulk joint.
Oh yeah,
So,
and especially when people start talking about the sausages instead of the tubes. Yeah,
right.
it's
I'm gonna go with feeling cocky. I if I'm just picking on names alone, I don't see how they don't win the whole thing. But again,
well, yeah, well, I think that's the equivalent of big ass fans, right? Like
right,
they named that company based on the fact that they just have these giant fans, and people look at them, and that's the reaction. So
it's
that
a
was
great
smart.
name. You can't look at
Yeah,
one without
you can't
telling
pick that.
everybody around you that it's a big ass fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't say as a father when it rains, you can't not say we needed this rain.
Right.
Like it's just ingrained with you. Alex, I appreciate you humoring me going through our Elite Eight for the Glazer Nation March Madness tournament. I wanna like plug, but like if I was gonna tell people to connect with you, I would tell them to go to your LinkedIn page. That's where I would tell them to start, and I would tell them to go to learnglazing.com.
That is absolutely correct. So, because of all the other roles that I have had in my life, if you tend to Google my name, you're going to find more of the artist side than anything else. So, while it's confusing to some, it is also me. But LinkedIn is by far probably the best place to find me. I'm active on it all the time. I'm active on it daily. It's the social media that we have concentrated on efforts on because of our original audience, which was the project management and just management in general for the industry. I don't feel that we're not showing really cool photos, so it's not like we can really kind of jump down some of those other social medias because we have courses and text and small
Yeah.
videos that are educational. That's not really super conducive to Instagram per se, but yeah, LinkedIn is the right place. Our website is a great way to connect with us. We have an awesome email campaign that goes out all the time to kind of keep people in the loop as well if they want to subscribe to that. But those are the places to find us. And YouTube is awesome too. I put I would say probably 50 to 60% of our videos on there because we do want obviously people to come to the training, right? The end goal is for people to learn and better themselves and invest in themselves and show that they want to change their lives and help themselves kind of just propel into that maybe next career move if they so choose to, or if that's what they're looking for, and that's what we're trying to aid. So that's YouTube is also a great resource to kind of keep up with kind of what we're doing, the trends, the style of things that we're going to be working on. But by far the website, and if they wanted to get a hold of me directly, LinkedIn.
Yeah. So specifically for Learnglazing, for the social media content, I would 100% agree with you that LinkedIn would be the focus. But like, I don't know, man. I wouldn't sleep on some of like the Instagram Reels, the Facebook Reels. You might get people specifically of a different generation that may not see it otherwise, and
Yeah,
may.
and we do have them. Our
Okay.
following in those isn't as strong.
Yeah. Same here.
And
Same here with
Facebook
Glazer
for me
Nation.
is a little tricky because my Facebook is a personal Facebook. So it's not like something where I'm branding the company
Yeah.
within my
Yeah.
own personal life.
Yeah, our biggest, Matt has a Facebook group with 30,000 people, but when you get past that, our biggest and most rapidly growing since we started the podcast is LinkedIn for sure. But like, sometimes we'll put an Instagram reel up or a TikTok up, and I don't know. I mean, for the size of our account, it does pretty well, but there's a different
Surprisingly
generation
for us,
there that,
our website does really well. So we get the majority of our views, visits, and interactions directly on our website. We have a few thousand users, or I think we have a little over 4,000 active users on our accounts and stuff like that. Like taking courses all the time. We're averaging, over 200 per month of new signups for like the last year and a half. Like when we started this 2 years ago, really to try and get out there, we didn't have much, and at this point, our growing rate is crazy. So we get the most exposure and the most activity directly on our website. LinkedIn for me has been kind of growing that awareness, so I get a lot of interaction as well, just to kind of be on there. Our page has grown quite a bit as well, and then YouTube. I mean, when I joined this company, we had all of like under 10 followers on any of those things, and
yeah,
we've come a long way. So it's a good kind of full package. You can kind of access us in all of them.
yeah. LinkedIn's where I found you probably 2 years ago, when I
Yeah.
was starting to get more involved in the social media aspect of our industry. So yeah, follow Alex on LinkedIn, go to learnglazing.com, take some courses, get your employees to take some courses. Alex, appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yes.